there, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and today we have some Kanban and just quite a simple card in many ways, but again it goes back to this thing that I harp on about, particularly for new crafters, that if you use good quality stuff, a simple card can actually look really cool. Also for us more experienced crafters, sometimes it's nice just to do something a little bit more simple and just make a nice card that's just not too intricate. And as I say, for beginners this is just perfect as well. So I hope you enjoy, and let's get crafting. So we're starting out with a card that is one of those ones that I had made but you can easily do yourself. This is a 6x6 card, and there's a mat that is cut to a 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. I had that done, but you can easily obviously cut that yourself. So we're going to be working on that mat, but first what I need to do is prepare the elements. So I cut out my little topper, and you can sort of pop these out, but I like to use my craft blade and just gently put round those little notches just to make sure that it comes out nice and cleanly. Once I decided where I roughly wanted to cut it, I needed to measure the size of my little topper, and it's 3 1/4 by 4 1/8 roughly. So I'm only doing it approximate, it's just to give a rough idea. It then occurred to me that trying to cut that out would probably be quite difficult when I'm trying to position it into a particular position, so I decided to draw around it using a pencil and then just use those as a guide to trim using my trimmer here. So next, taking a piece of card still from the Hobbies collection, but this one was actually for the cycling set, but it doesn't really matter if you mix and match, the colour worked, and I wanted to create a mat and layer for both this music piece and also the actual guitar. So I just marked using a pencil and cut them both to size to create those mats. So now we're going back to that original white mat that was 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and we're taking another sheet from the Hobbies collection from Kanban, but this one was the baking sort of background sheet, and this time rather than sizing it and marking it with a pencil, we're just gluing it straight down onto our white card mat there, and then once it's dry and it's not going to move about, I'm just using my trimmer and cutting it down to size, because I wanted it to be a perfect fit for that mat, because it's already a mat, that layer, so I didn't need to make it another mat. And then I'm taking my two music pieces and matting them again, just using wet adhesive. This is my Hunky Dory construction glue, and sticking those down onto the cycling card background that we cut out earlier. And the reason I use two different ones for that, because they look very similar when you see them apart like this, but this cycling one was just very slightly darker. It was still the right tones as the baking background, and obviously it matched beautifully, both of them, with the music, but it was just slightly darker, and I wanted that slight difference so that it gave a little pop off the background when I put them onto the front of the card. Next, before I put the card together, I had a piece of just sort of random paper in that sort of similar tones again, that matched nicely with the front of the card. It wasn't part of the collection, it was just part of my stash, and I cut it to the 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and then I just put adhesive on the top, and just to create just a flappy insert, as I call it. Now if you prefer, you could stick that down completely. I quite like that it does that. I just think there's something, it just gives it, I don't know, I just quite like that sort of look. I always think it just makes it look like really expensive, but that's just personal choice. Sometimes I like them stuck completely down as well. So then of course we move on to the front of the card, and the next thing we do is again just using my construction glue. I stick the front panel, this is our white panel that we covered with that baking background cardstock from that collection, the Kanban collection that we've been using the whole time. And by the way, speaking of the collection and all of that, I will put links if I can for the products used. I suspect that some of this isn't available anymore. If it isn't, I will at least make a list for you of what it is so that you can find something similar, because you may still be able to Google it and kind of find something similar, but I'll do my best to link the actual products if I can. So as I say, I stuck that panel down first of all, and then I just was fiddling around really to decide where I wanted what element and whether I wanted the guitar at the top or the music at the top, how I really wanted it to work. So I was just fiddling around and deciding on that before sticking that down, each piece using my construction glue again. Now what you'll notice is that I didn't press that down. I'm putting the other piece on, it's not got any glue on it, and I'm just positioning it how I think it's going to be, and then that's giving me the opportunity, because this is a wet glue, to wriggle the one underneath, as long as I'm careful to not move it so much that I end up with glue everywhere. The beauty of the construction glue to a certain extent is that it kind of, if you're not like going crazy too much everywhere, you can usually, once it starts to dry, it kind of peels off a little bit, so you can get away with a little bit, just, you know, if you move it just slightly out of position and there's a bit of glue that you didn't want showing. But on the whole, long as you don't go crazy, you should be okay. But it just gives you that opportunity to make sure that it's positioned how you want it. Things like this are actually fiddly to get in the right place. The other thing that you can do is position them without the glue, and then make a very light mark with the pencil for each of the two, like the top two corners, and say the bottom guitar one doing the bottom right corner and top right corner, and mark it on the white there, so you have some idea of where to position it. That's another way if you're a little nervous to do it with the glue. That's certainly how I used to do it, and it worked quite well doing it that way, because you can then either find, if you're careful, if you put the points further enough up, you'll probably find that it covers the pencil mark anyway, but if it doesn't, if you've done it light enough, it will erase away anyway. So that's always a good way of doing it. And so then, as you see, I've just put my glue on, and then I'm positioning it. Now on this one, I knew that the 2 points again were on the edge of the white. I just wasn't 100% sure where, and I was again fiddling around with it and just trying to get it in exactly the right place. So I wasn't 100% happy with that. I felt it needed something more, so I added on 2 little charms, and they were just again in my stash. These were just some metal charms I had. Unfortunately, I hadn't realised that my camera had stopped recording, so basically all I did was put a little bit of the construction glue on the back of each charm and brought it down onto the card. So you didn't really miss very much, but apologies for that I hadn't realised that it had died on me. But that was it for the front. So then I decided I wanted just to add a little something more to the inside, so I decided to take my Altenew die, the thank you die, and some of the lovely cardstock that we'd been using on the front to die cut the thank you, and then I just stuck that down using some wet glue and just doing my normal technique of just dunking the thank you into the wet glue, and then just sticking that down onto the inside. And I just thought that added again a little something, and bringing that colour from the outside to the inside and just linking that up really nicely. And I thought it was nice to put such a large sentiment for a change on the inside, and again just added a little something different. So that is it. Quite a simple card in many ways, but just those few little extras like the charms and that perhaps the thank you on the inside, I think just add that little extra something to it that makes it just a little bit special, I think. And what I like about it is I think that it's a card that a beginner can easily do, but also obviously us experienced crafters can do as well, and it's still enjoyable for both. At least I found it enjoyable, and I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that would enjoy, that are experienced crafters that also enjoy making the simpler cards as well. We don't always want to make the most complicated cards, do we? We want to sometimes do something that's a little bit easier, maybe a little bit more clean cut, and it's just nice to do that. So, and I think that it turned out really well, and I hope you guys did too. So that is it for this week. Don't forget, as always, please do go on across to the blog post to look at the photos, etc. I'm not sure what there will be with regards to links, because these are quite an older collection, but I will do the best I can. So if I can find them, I'll put them there for you, but definitely go over anyway to look at the photos. As I say, I always do loads of photos. And of course, I would love it if you haven't already to subscribe to my website. If you subscribe to the website, I mean, even if you want to do it as well as YouTube, but if you subscribe to the website, what you get is an email every time I post, and that's all you get. You don't get a load of trash. Literally, you'll get one email every time I do a video post, and that is it. So you'll get instant notification that a post has been done, and it will link you straight to that post, so you'll be able to go straight to the video. Whereas YouTube, if you just say subscribe and you don't do that extra step of ringing the bell or whatever they call it, then you might not get notification and you may miss the videos. So the safest way is definitely to go across to the website and subscribe on there. But anyway, either way, I would love you to subscribe to either, both, all, any. I've got loads of social media as well. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.